Ever feel like you are living through the decline of society or life as we know it? Like even our much touted advancements in the world today, from the internet to our phones, are actually making a lot of things worse and playing to our worst impulses as human beings? Well, that's literally part of the warning from one of the most measured, sober, calm policy voices in our nation, former President Obama, who's concerned enough that he gave his version of a detailed warning shot today in a formal address about misinformation, and he chose to do it in the heart of Silicon Valley at Stanford.
Like all advances in technology, this progress has had unintended consequences. It's sometimes come at a price. And in this case, we see that our new information ecosystem is turbocharging some of humanity's worst impulses.
That's a key point. No one is really claiming Facebook or whomever created conspiracy theories. But there is now tons of data that shows things that used to really thrive mostly on the fringe, like right over here on the edge of the screen, really among a small group, are amplified for profits and are now taking hold among many, many millions. Much larger part of the screen, if you will. There were always anti-vaxxers, but over 95% of people rebuffed them year after year. That's why school vaccines have not typically been controversial for most communities, including in all of the red states. Now, as Obama says today, and I'm about to show you how he said it, now about 20%, or 1 in 5 people, are vaccine hesitant. And as you might have heard me say on this program, if that's for their own reasons or religious reasons, okay. But it is often, and this is key, it's often based on lies and misinformation they believe to be true.
Around 1 in 5 Americans is still willing to put themselves at risk and put their families at risk rather than get vaccinated. People are dying because of misinformation.
That is true. And that's why right now, and in these past few years, from Trumpism, as we were discussing at the top of the program, to this pandemic that's taken the lives of 6 million people, innocent people, of course, that's why right now, all those old theoretical conversations about speech and politics and say what you want and figure it out and let it go, all that stuff's being tested in a very serious way. When people say follow the science, they do mean, well, the actual science. They don't mean hoaxes and liars who are trying to trick you into believing something as the science, which is not science, and usually doing it not for entertainment, not for fun, but for their own profit. They are literally messing with your mind so they get some benefit. And that brings us to the type of disinfo that people do believe nowadays. The COVID vaccine, for example, has been found to be safe. No public evidence suggests that it would cause a new illness or cause AIDS. But on social media, with these rich companies, you can find them circulating this kind of misinfo presented right as if it were equal to the facts.
It's anticipated, the German data says that by the end of 2022, every fully vaccinated person over the age of 30 may have the equivalent of full-blown vaccine-induced immune-suppressed AIDS.
No. Everything you just heard is completely false. But when people see that, and it's presented in these very arresting mediums, the speed of video on a social media site, with something up at the top that says something not true, like fact or news or doctor, well, some people do believe that, and we're talking about whether this is the best we can do or consistent with the obligations of the First Amendment and a society with free speech, whether there is some better way to deal with this. Now, that's just the politics of information. Then there's actual politics. Obama usually avoids partisan brawls in his role as post-presidency, but what you see on your screen is, well, the point Obama made today. He doesn't usually call people out by name. But today, in this speech that he just wrapped up recently, here late in the day, he linked Putin to Steve Bannon, Trump's former campaign chair, who's currently awaiting a criminal trial over his defiance of the January 6th committee. And the link here is not that Bannon is a, quote, war criminal, which is what Biden has said about Putin, but the link is that you are looking at, according to Obama, two big liars who lie in ways that are dangerous, and not dangerous just like dangerous to democracy, which is bad enough. No, dangerous to people's lives, because people are acting on these lies, as they did on January 6th, in ways that have caused death. It's that serious. And again, I remind you, because we pay close attention to all the presidents, former presidents, Barack Obama rarely brings up names out of the blue, and he knows there'll be a backlash to it, but here he went today. Take a listen.
Today, as we speak, a majority of Republicans still insist that President Biden's victory was not legitimate. People like Putin and Steve Bannon, for that matter, understand it's not necessary for people to believe this information in order to weaken democratic institutions.
People like Putin and Bannon. People like Putin and Bannon. That is tough talk. By the way, a little tougher than even Joe Biden usually talks about some of these Trump world figures these days, and he is busy being president. But this is Barack Obama making that link, calling out Steve Bannon, saying this is more than just lies. It's lies that lead to insurrections. It's lies that lead to physical violence. He is talking about the sophistication of that, because the other point here is not to paint all with one brush. The people who are lied to are information victims. Some of them may not know better. Some of them may be confused. The people who knowingly lie, the Putins and the Bannons of the world, according to Obama, I'm quoting Obama, well, they know exactly what they're doing when they do things like this.
The return of Trump, and it ain't going to be in 2024. It's going to be in 2022, or maybe before, as we start the decertification process out in Arizona.
We know from the judge up there that's doing the investigation that this is, and we've talked to rank superiors from the beginning, Wisconsin, we think, is the most easily provable of all the election fraud in the decertification of Biden electors.
We are going to fix 2020. I hope that we're going to decertify 2020. How about you?
Do not underestimate this stuff, Barack Obama says. And when it comes to Mr. Bannon, who's been on this program before, and I invite him back to take the hard questions, I'll tell you this. He is smart enough to know exactly what he's doing. He's smart enough to know that there is no decertification provision that replaces presidents midstream. And he's smart enough to know that when you push that lie and you get people to believe that, you get them angrier and able to do more and act more than if you just reasoned with them about the available facts. A sizable portion of the Republican base is not only leaning into that kind of stuff, but they're also now listening to, engaging, and sometimes believing this QAnon fringe conspiracy theory.
These bunch of pedophiles in Hollywood are going to be exposed for who they are. I don't care what you think about fraudulent Sleepy Joe. He's a sex trafficking, demon-possessed mongrel.
Now, that's literally just like 10 seconds. Imagine doing that for 10 minutes or an hour or 4 every day, day after day after day, and you lose your sense of reality. That's what they're talking about. That's what they're firing people up about. That's what they're lying about. And as I said, while it's become popular to demonize people for different beliefs, that's not really what I'm trying to do, and that's not really what the evidence shows. It's not about saying some particular political ideology will lead you there. Some of these ideologies are quite old. It is that the internet has amplified and supercharged this. 1 out of 4 Republicans in some polls now identify themselves as basically believing in QAnon. A vast majority of Republicans in some manner doubt the legitimacy of Biden's election. This stuff is being mainlined. And it's not just by the traditional sources. It is by these viral activities. It is working. It is fast. It is potent. And it's making social media companies a lot of money because many of them rely on engagement above all else. And when are people most engaged? When they are rip-roaring mad because somebody told them that there is a secret sex pedophile unit running the world. Obama's using his influence now to urge Congress to take on what I just mentioned, the exact underlying business model of these companies.
These companies need to have some other North Star other than just making money and increasing market share. fix the problem that, in part, they helped create.
Fix the problem you created. He's saying to Silicon Valley, in Silicon Valley, yes, heal thyself. And let's be clear, there are real free speech issues here. Mass censorship is not okay, and asking tech companies to be the final arbiter of everything is not a good idea. But we know what it looks like under these rules. Can we possibly do any better?